the first, second, third, fourth session that you go to are going to be the most uncomfortable moments in your whole journey. I was starting to treat my therapist like she's my best friend, and it's like, that's not what she's there for. Your therapist is not your mates, and it's harder to see emotional pain through an image on Instagram. If our bodies are sick, we go to the doctors, we go to the hospital. If our soul is sick, if our emotions are sick, where do we go to? You're not supposed to get stuck here, and you're not supposed to get stuck in transit. A good therapist will take you from here to there. Your therapist is not Jesus. He or she does not have the power to heal you by themselves. You must do the work. You have to open the wounds in order to heal them. So be patient, because when you don't confront an issue, you internalize the issue and it's gonna explode. Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. Hope you guys are doing well. So in today's video, we're going to be talking about 6 things I wish I knew before starting therapy. Now, I've wanted to make this video for a long while now because I have a lot to say on this topic and my thoughts and feelings. Just a bit of background about my personal therapy experience. So I actually have a gauge now of like when I started therapy, because it was when my auntie Joan passed away, and it's now 8th year anniversary, and sadly last week we lost her husband. So yeah, my uncle passed away suddenly. So 8 years ago, her death for me was the first real death in my family for me as a child. So in saying that, what I mean is that I never had a reference for death prior to 8 years ago, because nobody in my family died as long as I was alive, if that makes sense. So I did not know how to process or understand grief, and so I just numbed. So my Auntie Joan was a massive part of our family, and it just didn't make any sense. Out of all people, why her? And I didn't know how to process that death, so I numbed. And then that numbing started to spiral me out of control emotionally. So I can't say that I was seeking a therapist or even knew that I needed therapy, but I definitely know that I needed help and I needed support in that area. So cut a long story short, I went to this relationship event at my sister's church, and the woman that was speaking happened to be a therapist. I decided to connect with her after the service on a, let's sit down and have a cup of tea kind of thing. And I got in contact with her. Turns out she is a therapist, went to her place, started talking, and she was like, what do you want from me? I was like, I don't know. She was like, I do coaching, I do mentoring, and I do therapy. And she said to me that you seem like you need therapy. So I started my journey with her, and that lasted 2 years. I started off seeing her twice a month, and then it turned into every week. Yes, I needed her every week. And then that stopped. And then when I went through my breakup in 2021, I started seeing another therapist for, I would say, 6 to 7 months. So I think I have a good understanding of the process of therapy and the benefits and the limitations. So that's what I want to kind of talk about in today's video. I guess I want to talk about 6 things that I wish I knew before I started, and maybe any of you are considering going to therapy, if you're considering maybe seeking some counsel, some counseling, or if you've been to therapy and you've kind of been like, well, it hasn't done anything for me. I think these 6 things are going to maybe help you understand why it's not working, because we have a part to play in therapy, but I'll get into that a little bit later. Which is why I want to introduce you guys to BetterHelp, the amazing sponsors of today's video. BetterHelp is the world's largest therapy service, and it's 100% done online. With BetterHelp, you can tap into a world of 30,000 licensed and professional therapists to help you with a wide range of issues. So to get started, you just need to answer a few questions about your needs and your expectations, and BetterHelp will literally connect you with the right fit of therapist for you, and you can change your therapist at any time. Like I said, it's okay to shop around. If you feel like this therapist does not understand me, I'm not relating, I'm not comfortable, you can always switch your therapist. You can also speak to your therapist at any time via text, via chat, via video call. You have the option to speak and communicate with your therapist at any time. So with BetterHelp, you get the same quality as you would get with an in-person therapist, but this therapist will be custom picked for you with way more scheduling flexibility and at an affordable price for you. I know therapy can be a luxury for some people because it can cost a lot, but that's why I'm here to help you. So I'm here to offer you 10% off of your first month with BetterHelp. So go to betterhelp.com/BreenyLee for 10% off of your first month. That's BetterHelp, HELP, help, or you can click the link down in my bio. So the first thing that I wish I knew before going to therapy is it is okay to seek help, right? And I know that the stigma of therapy has definitely been lessened over the years. Like, I think for me, when I used to watch the Kardashians and they used to talk about therapy, so like normally, it kind of normalized therapy and other celebrities in my eyes. So I think before, therapy wasn't even a thing. Like, it wasn't even on our mind. Like, people that went to psychotherapy were psychopaths, right? You know, seeking mental or emotional help is not a sign of weakness or insanity. You're not a crazy person because you want to go and speak to someone. And the way that I look at it is that we as human beings are composed up of three things, which is our bodies, our soul, and our spirit. If our bodies are sick, we go to the doctors, we go to the hospital. If our spirit is sick, we go to church, we pray, we get spiritual help. If our soul is sick, if our emotions are sick, where do we go to? And don't get me wrong, you can seek spiritual help that will then drain down into your soul and heal your soul. I 100% believe that. But for those who are outside of that, outside of the church or outside of religion, or even if you're in a religion, it's actually okay to seek guidance on a soulish level. And the way that I see it is that God has put certain people in certain professions to help you along the way. And so I don't feel like anyone, especially in this time, should feel a sense of shame because there are professionals that deal in the things that you're going through, and what you're going through is nothing new. There's nothing that these therapists have not heard before. So there's no need to feel shame about it. If you had a broken leg, you don't feel any shame to dial 911, 111, 999 to seek help. But if you are going through something, if you've experienced something traumatic, if your childhood experiences are seeping into your adult life, there should be no shame in seeking out professional help. And I think the reason why therapy and things like this are becoming more necessary is because I believe back in the day, back in civilization, we were all a lot closer to each other. But nowadays, we all have our separate lives. Everyone's busy. Our friends and families live miles and miles away from us. And it's not as easy just to be surrounded constantly by the people that care about us. And it's harder to see, emotional pain through an image on Instagram or even in a phone conversation. You call someone, be like, hey, how are you? You can lie. You can lie on the phone. I'm okay. You can lie online, taking smiling pictures. You can lie. But I think back in the day, everyone was close to each other. People felt each other. There was an actual emotional connection. So when you wasn't doing well, your mum could come and be like, okay, you've been in your room for 5 days. Are you okay? I haven't seen you smile in weeks. Is everything okay with you? I think because we can hide, like sometimes I'll be sitting here like, sometimes I have to stop myself from negative thoughts of like, no one cares about me, this and that, no one of that. Like, it's so easy to go into that like self-defeating, like victim mindset. I try my hardest to not go into that because sometimes it can feel really, really, really lonely. And so I don't feel like anyone should, have any shame about seeking help. And just because you want to check on your mental health doesn't mean that you have a mental illness. And I think everyone needs to understand that we all have mental health. So when people say my mental health, no, we all have mental health, but not everyone has mental illness. But most of us just need an upkeep on our mental health. And if you checked out my podcast, I spoke about how to be emotionally healthy. So make sure you guys check that out as well. The second thing I wish I knew before starting therapy is that it's actually okay to shop around for a therapist that is the right fit for you. I know with therapy, everyone may be trained in the same way, but you're not able to connect with every therapist in the same way. And I know specifically for people of color, it is important that we connect with someone that looks like us, that have experienced the same thing as us. And it's not anything to do with racism or race. It's about cultural differences, right? I was born in the UK. I'm of a Caribbean heritage. So I have no problem going to a white therapist or an Asian therapist. I'm actually quite flexible because my cultural differences aren't that different from a Caucasian person. However, I know different cultures, different ethnicities, there are nuances that a Caucasian or a different race of person does not understand. So it is okay to say as a black person that you want a black therapist. It's actually okay as a white person to say that you want a white therapist. It's actually okay as an Asian person to say you want an Asian therapist. But one thing I wish I knew is that it's okay to shop around because it's necessary for you to build a strong, trusting connection with a therapist. And it's really hard to build a trusting connection with a therapist that you just like, this person does not understand what the hell I am talking about because of the cultural differences and the nuances of our own experience. The third thing I wish I knew about therapy before I started, listen, and this is a big one. Therapy takes time. It is not a quick fix. Me, Miss Impatient Breeny, was just like, I cannot. When I first started talking, I was like, the hour is up already. Like, I have so much more to say. This is going to take forever. And I was just like, oh, Jesus, what have I started? But therapy actually taught me patience. And it also reminded me like how patient God is with us. Like how long sometimes it takes for us to learn a lesson, but God is so patient. Like my therapist was so patient with me. Even when I wanted to to hurry up through the process. And it taught me just to take time and to pace yourself. You're not going to be fixed in one session. You're not going to be fixed overnight. It may not even take 2 months, 6 months, 1 year, 1 year and a half, 2 years. It may take a longer time for you to arrive at a place. But before you know it, if you trust the process and you keep going, you keep showing up, you keep being transparent, you keep doing the work, you will look up and realize that I feel so much lighter. I feel so much more stronger. I feel more empowered. I understand more. I can see my flaws. I can see my patterns. I'm getting the strength to change those patterns. You look up and realize like I've come a long way from my first session. And that's what happened in my last session. It wasn't even that we had a time period. My therapist did not give me a time period. It was just like when she feels like you're ready, when you feel like you're ready to go part ways, then that's what's going to happen. And so my last few sessions of therapy in those 2 years that I was doing, when it was coming up to 2 years, I started feeling like, okay, I got this. Like I can take control now because now I'm just coming to you talking about my boy troubles. Now I'm just coming to you talking to about some relationship problems. Like this guy that I'm seeing, like I'm starting to treat my therapist like she's my best friend. And it's like, that's not what she's there for. Like she's told you the lessons, like now go and do it and stop putting yourself in those stupid situations. You can get to a point with therapy whereby you're taking the piss. Like I can't put it in any other words. You're taking the mick now. Like now you're using your problems or your issues as an excuse not to do the work and do better. And you're treating your therapist like she's your sister. Your therapist is not your mate. Your therapist is not your mate. And because they're so impartial, they're not going to be like, Breeny, I don't want to hear this again. I told you what to do. They're going to sit there and they're going to listen and listen and listen and listen. Now I got to a point where I realized like, Breeny, it's enough. Like you know better. Now do better. But not only that, in my last session, she got me to draw a picture of where I was and where I am now. And I remember drawing like a tree, and I came into therapy and the tree was black. From the roots to the tree was all black. And as I went and journeyed through therapy, they started becoming more color, became more vibrant, light. And then now where I am now is the tree is now vibrant and beautiful, and it's now growing fruit and it's lovely. And so I wish I knew that therapy takes time. Don't put any time limits on there. Some issues are harder to, I don't want to say fix, but harder to deal with, and it may take a lot of, you know, plowing that ground, like breaking up those lies and those beliefs and those words that people spoke over you. And it's like it takes a lot to plow up those words, you know? So some things may take longer. So I wish I knew it takes time, and to be patient and trust the process. The fourth thing I wish I knew about therapy is that honesty is essential. And this is why it's super, 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 super important that you work on your self-awareness prior to therapy. Do you know why? When I went to therapy, I had a level of understanding because I would talk about this stuff on YouTube. I understood these things. I was self-aware in my own life. So when I would go to therapy, it was literally team effort because she's bringing something to me and I'm like, oh, I understand that. I can see that. I've seen how it manifests. I see the reason why that root has now caused that fruit because of XYZ. And I was able to partner with her in that honesty, and she was able to take it deeper. I may have understood something on this surface level, but she was able to take it deeper. And I was like, light bulb moment. I understand. I get it now. But if I was not honest, if I was not self-aware, the therapist can only deal with what you bring to them. And I've seen it, guys. I've seen people go to therapy and not be completely honest. They may say, this guy did this, my child is this happened to me. Like, they just want to be a victim. It's all them. It's none of me. It was not my fault. So you bring that to the therapist. The therapist is not necessarily going to call you out. They're going to manage whatever you bring to them. But you're doing yourself a disservice. You feel like you're tricking the therapist, but you're doing yourself a disservice because you're wasting your money, you're wasting your time, and you're not getting the help that you need because you're not being honest. You're telling them a part of the story. You're telling them what that person did to you, but you're not sharing what you did to them. You're not sharing how you treated your child and why your child is reacting to you in this way. You're not self-aware, so you're not being honest. And when you're not self-aware, you're not honest, you can't be helped. So if you want to make the most out of therapy, let go of the shame. This is why it's important to get a therapist that you trust. Because if you feel like your therapist is judging you, it's going to be very difficult to be honest and transparent, right? Me personally, I wanted to get a therapist that did not know me. My first therapist did not know me, right? She didn't have the capacity to judge me because she didn't know who I was, right? Yes, I sent her some of my videos, but she was so professional that she dealt with what I brought to her, not my perception, not what I did online, not anything else outside of the room. So it is important to be authentic and to be transparent and to be honest with your therapist, because like I said, if you're not, you're wasting your time, you're wasting their time, and you're wasting your money. Because therapy is not cheap. The fifth thing I wish I knew before starting therapy is that it is perfectly normal to experience discomfort. And I will say the first therapy session, or the first, second, third, fourth session that you go to, are going to be the most uncomfortable moments in your whole journey. Because especially if you're a closed book and you're not used to opening up to people, you are going to feel like this is so foreign. This feels weird. Why did I tell this woman my business? Why did I tell this man my business? Oh my God. Why? And because sometimes the session is only 1 hour, this therapist has to stop you. Let's say you're in the middle of like a deep outpouring. They're gonna have to be like, I'm sorry, but it's gone an hour, it's gone 2 hours, time has passed. I will see you again next week. I will see you again the following week. And you're left feeling so vulnerable and exposed, like, but I got my emotions in the palm of my hand. What am I supposed to do with this? Okay, I guess I'll see you next week then. I'll just pack my load and go. So there's times you can come out of your therapy session and just cry because you're feeling so exposed. The emotions that you went into, the place that you had to go back to get those emotions, can leave you feeling very, very vulnerable and uncomfortable. But that is not a reason. Listen, we're grown-ups. Put your big girl panties on. Put your big boy panties on. We're grown-ups, right? We can compartmentalize. We can put our emotions, pack them away, feel the emotions, feel the discomfort, and say to your therapist, okay, I'll see you next week. This is not an excuse for you to say, I'm not coming back here because I'm uncomfortable. Come on, you're a big girl, you're a big boy. You can handle these uncomfortable emotions. And they're going to be uncomfortable because you're literally opening old wounds. But don't worry, you have to open the wounds in order to heal them. So be patient. Sit with the discomfort and know that it's not going to kill you. You are not going to die. And the whole point of therapy is that they provide a safe space for you to share, and your therapist is there to support you in that safe space. And the sixth thing I wish I knew before starting therapy is that therapy is a collaborative effort. Unlike going to the hospital, unlike going to the doctors, you can't just lay there. They're not just gonna fix your broken leg by yourself. It's talking therapy. It's not one-sided where the therapist is going to tell you what to do. So your active participation and your engagement is crucial in getting the results that you so desire. And one thing I need you guys to know is that you need to do the work. If your therapist recommends a book for you to read, buy it and read it. If your therapist recommends you to talk to that person, to have a conversation with that parent, have a conversation with that person that hurt you, do the work. You have to do the work of therapy, otherwise it's not going to work. You're just going to be sitting in therapy talking about the same stuff over and over again, and you're not going to get anywhere, because it's not in the talking that you get your healing. It's in the work that you do. It's in the doing where you get your healing. And it's not easy, guys. It's not easy to do the work. It's not easy to read those books. It's not easy to participate. It is not easy to have those uncomfortable conversations with the people that you need to have the conversations with. It is not easy to forgive. It is not easy to move past this and have a hand in your own healing, because ultimately therapy is just a avenue. It's a transportation. You're in transportation. The therapist is supposed to take you from here to there. You're not supposed to get stuck here, and you're not supposed to get stuck in transit. A good therapist will take you from here to there, and it's a collaborative. You do it together. You have to do the work. Your therapist is not going to heal you. Your therapist is not Jesus. He or she does not have the power to heal you by themselves. You must do the work. And what I always feel about therapy is that therapists can see your blind spots. So like I said, I knew a lot. I was self-aware, I had some understanding, but there was blind spots that I could not see. When you do your driving lessons, they always teach you about a blind spot, and it's a part of your car that you cannot see. Whether you're looking in this mirror or that mirror or that mirror, there's a blind spot you just can't see. And it's for somebody else to help you to see that blind spot. And that's what a therapist is there for. But if you're resistant to that help, you're not going to get anywhere. And there's people that have been in therapy for 10 years. And let me say this, there's no time limit to therapy, but you may finish therapy and then something else happens and you may need support in how to deal with that again, right? So like I said, I went to therapy for 2 years, a few years passed, and I went to therapy again because of something else that happened. So it's not a once and for all fix. You may need to see your therapist again, and there's no shame about seeing your therapist multiple times. And there's also no shame in staying in therapy for 3-4 years. If it's once a month to your therapist, like, I'm not condemning anyone, even if it is 10 years, like, let me not like condemn anybody. But I'm just saying that you need to be cooperating and doing the work. That's why it's important to get a therapist that understands your goals, your needs, and that you ask questions and you provide feedback to your therapist. If you're with a therapist and the therapist is good, but you feel like your therapist maybe doesn't push you enough or is not holding you accountable enough, you can ask for that. You can ask. Guys, I'm just going to say ask because I can't say ask because it sounds like I'm changing my accent. You can ask for that. You can ask for that. So yeah, ask questions and make sure that your therapist aligns with your needs. So guys, if you're looking at going to therapy, if you're going to sign up for BetterHelp, like, listen, these are things that you need to understand about therapy before you go into it. And guys, just before I end, I want to kind of share with you guys some things that therapy helped me with and that can also be of benefit to you. Number one is self-awareness. If you're not self-aware, therapy can also help you with self-awareness. So then I'm not saying that you need to be self-aware, but self-awareness does help with therapy. But if you don't have self-awareness, therapy can also help with that. So for me, therapy helped me to understand my emotions, understand my thoughts, my beliefs, and my behaviors, and how they all play a part. I think before it was very hard for me to pinpoint my feelings and to also just sit with those feelings, because if I felt an uncomfortable feeling, I would just shut it down, push it away, or ignore it, and I would not deal with my feelings. So therapy literally helped me to be aware of my thoughts, my feelings, my behaviors, and my actions. Therapy helped me with my emotional regulation. Growing up, I was a mute. I literally did not speak as a child. I did not talk. I did not share my feelings. I was scared, and I kept everything in. Growing up, I kind of remained the same. So because I kept everything in, I didn't know how to regulate my emotions. No one taught me how to regulate my emotions. No one even taught me how to feel, which is the reason why when my aunt passed 8 years ago, like, I just shut down. And with this passing of my uncle, I'm trying my hardest, like, not to shut down and not to numb, like, to feel those feelings. And like, if you have to cry for 4 hours, then cry for 4 hours. Like, it's okay, but it's not okay to keep them in and to become numb, because I even need an open heart to help my cousins who have lost their mom and their dad. Like, it's not about me. So I need to remain open-hearted, and I feel like that's what God's been telling me, like, remain open, don't close up, don't shut down, keep an open heart in this time. So therapy definitely helps with my emotional regulation. Therapy taught me communication and boundaries. Sis, guy, like, I did not have any boundaries. That was one book that my therapist actually recommended me, the book on boundaries by, I'll put it here, taught me boundaries, taught it's okay to stand up for yourself. It's okay to create boundaries for myself and for other people. So these skills help me to balance friendships. It helped me to communicate more effectively. It helped me to deal with confrontation. And there's a lot of people that don't like confrontation, and that's not good for you, because when you don't confront an issue, you internalize the issue and you're going to explode, and it's not going to be cute, and you're going to do more damage than if you just confront a situation head on. Therapy also taught me coping mechanisms, how to deal with uncomfortable situations. It taught me problem solving, goal setting. Helped me to put my life in order. As much as my therapist was not my life coach, it helped me to really structure my life. And lastly, it taught me self-compassion and acceptance. I'm so hard on myself. Like, I'm so hard on myself. And so it taught me how to have compassion. And when I was beating myself up, my therapist would not join in the beating up. Both my therapists would never join in the beating up. They would always tell me, like, it's actually okay. Like, don't be so hard on yourself. So it taught me to have self-compassion, like how to be kinder to my imperfections. So many times with our imperfections, we just want to hurry up and change it and fix it. But that's not how God treats us. He's patient with us. And lastly, I want to say, therapy can only go so far. Therapy can only go so far. And that's why it's important to know what you need. Some people need therapy, some people need deliverance. The thing that is constant and recurring in your life isn't necessarily emotional, it's spiritual. And not to get too deep, but we can be spiritually oppressed by evil spirits. So we need to be delivered from that. And for those people, no amount of counseling or therapy is going to heal them. They need to be like, in the name of Jesus, come out. Stop oppressing this child of God. So yeah, understanding whether you need counseling, therapy, or deliverance is very crucial. If you tried therapy and it hasn't worked and you still feel oppressed, I would advise you to seek a deliverance ministry in your area. It would not feel good for me to end the video without saying that. So yes, check out the links down below in my description box. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Hopefully it was helpful, educational, comforting, and I'll see you guys in my next one. See you later, guys.